Hey guys, welcome back to Project 817, and in this video we're going to talk about how to open a pizzeria and some of the cost involved. You're going to see real figures, some of the challenges, and really why I like this business as well. So we're going to get started again. We're going to get right into this video. The pizza business is a $50 billion industry. There are 5 billion pizzas sold worldwide each year. That is a very large market share. And the ability to make money in this business is pretty high. You could definitely make some pretty good money only selling pizza. That's literally it. You could have other things on your menu, but if you just focused on the food, that one thing, you're going to make some good money. All right, so why is this a good business to operate and own? First of all, it's a high profit, high margin business. You can make as much as 200-300% on the food you sell and over 1,000% plus on fountain drinks. That's pretty good margin. It's not like you're opening a retail store where you're lucky to get, 15% margin, or a grocery store where you're lucky to get like 5% margin sometimes. It's 200-300%. One pizza alone, you can make for a couple bucks, $2-3, maybe $4 tops, and you're reselling for $14. I would say that's pretty good margin. The other thing, of course, is that you are working with the general public. For some people, this may not be a good thing, but for most people, this could be a good thing. And pizza does genuinely make people happy. So that's a pretty big plus in my opinion. This business is also pretty dynamic, meaning you have a lot of options. You have takeout, you have delivery, you have order online, phone orders, you have sit down and eat. You could have a waitress service you. You have options in terms of where you want to focus on, and you have a lot of flexibility, which means that you can move in a lot of different directions in terms of how you want to run your business. If you want to focus on just delivery, you can focus on just delivery. You could have a team of drivers, delivering as far out as 5-6 miles or even more, if that's really what you wanted to focus on. If you wanted to focus on a sit-down experience for your customers, you could do that too. So your imagination can definitely run wild here, and you have flexibility to do what you want to do. The one thing I'll also say is that early on, you're not going to have good work-life balance. I'm actually going to talk about that in the next slide. But if you hire good people and you can get a good staff in place, then you don't necessarily need to work a lot of hours. So yes, you're going to have to put in time early on. There's no doubt about it. But long term, you may not have to put in as much time as necessary. So, when you talk about work-life balance, initially that's not a plus. But long term, it could definitely be a big plus. If you could find good people to work with in this business, it's a little bit hard. That's actually is a challenge, which I'll go through in the next slide here. But if you could find good people, this could be one of the greatest businesses ever. So just something to keep in mind. And overall, I do think this is a great business to open. All right, guys, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the top 3 challenges that I handpicked here. The first one's always going to be a training issue. Especially in the pizza business, if you don't know how to make pizza, you don't know how to cook the food that's on the menu. If you don't have any financial background or management experience, that could definitely hurt you, and you're going to need to invest some hours to kind of get up to speed. It could be as little as 20-30 hours. It could be as much as hundreds of hours that you're going to need to put in. So it's something you'll need to consider, especially if you've never worked in the food business before. Your second problem you're going to run into is definitely employee retention. In the pizza business, you're going to hire employees that are going to make obviously less than ideal work wages, and some of your employees, including your drivers, if you go that route, they're going to be making minimum wage. They'll make money from tips, obviously, and other various sources, but they're going to be mostly making a minimum wage. Your customer service reps that are going to be answering the phone are also not going to be making great money. The only person in the store that may be making good money is the manager. So employee retention could be a factor here, and it's important to think about some different employee retention programs, or cross-training your employees and potentially paying them more to do different functionalities in the pizza shop. The third issue you're going to run into is definitely work-life balance when you're starting out. This is going to be very painful and problematic because you're open 7 days a week. That's not to say that you can't do it, but early on you're going to have to put in some hours. So it does become a little bit of a concern. Now, there is great reward at the end if you're able to accomplish your pizza business to do great things and make good money, but just understand that you are going to have to invest some hours early on, for sure. So, can you make money in this business? And the answer is absolutely yes, you can make money. You can make pretty damn good money, actually. The first year is always going to be rough. We believe that if you do everything right, you got a good plan, you'll probably earn between $30,000 and $40,000 a year. $30,000 being on the low end. Depending on which part of the country you live in, this could be okay money, I guess. It could be potentially okay, but that's not what you went in business for. You want to make a lot more money. And we believe that if you're able to open multiple locations, more than one, you're able to maximize your current location that you're running, that you could earn over $500,000 a year. Now, is that realistic? Not necessarily immediately it is, but you got to think big. Long term, what can you make? Are you offering delivery? Do you have a sit down location? How much takeout are you doing? Do you have a competent team that could help out with client related issues? Because that's all going to be a big factor. Like client retention is pretty important. Are you the only game in town? Do you have several competitors near you? In New Jersey, where I live, there's tons of competition for pizzerias, but a lot of them are making okay money for the most part. So this is two considerations to think about. You're not going to get rich quick, but over time you could definitely make a lot of money for sure. So now that you know how much money you can make, you know the challenge is, what are the actual startup costs to this business? What is it going to cost me? So this is kind of a busy slide. I have a lot of numbers all over the place, and I want to show this because it's pretty important. When you think about startup costs, what is it going to cost to run the business for the whole year? What is it going to cost to run me monthly? Okay, I put together a rough estimate, and I highlighted a couple areas that are pretty important. Obviously, when you run a pizza shop, the number one thing you're going to want to think about is location. You got to have a good location. It's really, really important. It might be the most important aspect to your business. If you're like in a shopping mall, you're going to get more foot traffic. If you're kind of out of the way, you're not going to get much foot traffic, which could hurt your business. So you want to think about a great location to be in. The next thing is marketing and advertising cost, also very important. But don't think about it in the traditional sense of, okay, if I spend $5,000, here it is. You want to think, what does it cost to acquire one client? Think to yourself, cost of acquisition. And that's pretty important, because a lot of people that when they advertise their business, especially business owners, they just say, okay, I'm going to spend $1,000 on direct mail, and well, you don't know if you necessarily got your return on investment, right? So think about that. And then I have some other expenses on here. You're going to have potentially renovation fees early on. This is the one-time startup cost. You're going to have consultation fees. Obviously, you're going to need to buy inventory. The one thing I'll tell you is not to skimp out on as well, is definitely create a good website, especially in the pizza business, because you're going to have clients order food online from you. I order myself food online all the time. So make sure that you have a good site where people could actually order food, and that alone will increase your business. Even if you're not doing it now, you should be doing it, because the last probably 20 times I've ordered food, 19 times I've ordered it from a website. Okay, you're going to have reoccurring costs every month. You're obviously going to have your rent, utilities, insurance. The one thing I always tell people is that you should always have a budget for marketing and advertising. That could vary greatly, but you want to probably utilize anywhere from 8 to 10% of your revenue towards expenses for marketing and advertising, because you want to keep building the funnel to acquire new clients. Obviously, you're going to have some maintenance and repair costs potentially. You're going to have different factors that are going to play into this. You also always want to have a miscellaneous budget. This could be for employee related events. This could be a new idea that you think of. So always set aside a budget for miscellaneous expenses. That way you can kind of toy around with the money a little bit. So yeah, this is a startup cost, and you're looking at about anywhere from 200 to 260,000, give or take. This is going to vary greatly, again, dependent on the type of restaurant you open, whether you're sit down, you have a waitress staff, you do delivery. You could actually reduce this by quite a bit. You could reduce this by probably at least 60, 70,000, especially if you buy used equipment If you don't need to renovate the location, if you get a smaller space, that could definitely help out. So those are all things to definitely think about when you're starting up the business. When I think about the overall difficulty to run this kind of business, I'd probably rate it a 7.5 out of 10. I think I have some concerns over work-life balance issues. You are going to be putting in a lot of hours early on. I believe that just in general, running a restaurant is very difficult, especially during the pandemic. You're going to have to transition to a lot of delivery type service. You're going to have to transition to a lot of online type service, which could actually reduce your overhead in some ways and reduce your cost while gaining more revenue. You're going to need to definitely have some experience in the management side because you're dealing with the general public. You're dealing with people. So that could be a really great thing for you, and that could be a really bad thing. It really depends. But overall, for most people, if you're going into business, that should be a good thing. It's not an easy business. You're going to have to manage your food cost appropriately. So those are all factors to consider when you're running this kind of business. It's not going to be an easy thing to do. It's not going to be an easy thing to run. Is it doable? Absolutely. The rewards are fantastic. The money you can make is fantastic in this kind of business. Even if you run one location and you run it really well, you should make 6 figures a year pretty easily. However, there are always going to be factors that come in your way. For example, this is also a high competitive business. There's a lot of pizzerias in the area. Where I live alone, my town only has 4,000 people, but there's 3 pizzerias in the area. That's not including outside of the towns. So when I go outside, there's even more competition. So those are factors you're going to need to think about. Is my competition, work-life balance. You're going to put in a lot of hours. You're going to have to find ways to reduce expenses, reduce your food costs while making your food be exceptional. And then you have the pandemic, which obviously you're not going to be doing as much takeout as you would say do delivery or online services. So still a great business though, a fantastic business. This is a $50 billion market, and everyone's always going to want pizza and eat pizza. All right, so now that we've kind of gone through everything, guys, my overall thoughts is, as I said before and several times, is if I was given the option to open a pizzeria, I'd probably do it. I think it's a fun business. You're not gonna. That's always an element that's missing in business in general. Am I having fun? Is this something I enjoy doing? Is this something I can scale up? Is this something I can make money on? And all those combinations are not always easy to find, and they're not always easy to really figure out, right? So with that said, I hope you guys picked up a couple things on here that can definitely work out well. If you like this video, please subscribe, like it, share it with your friends. And obviously, there's not a big channel yet, but we're going to hope to get there soon. So any help that you can provide is greatly appreciated. If you picked up one thing from this video, definitely let me know what that is. I would love to hear what it is. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you learned a couple of things about the business and a few different numbers that could help you out. Other than that, guys, that's all I got for today. And have a super fantastic day and take care. Bye.